Many of you have probably read books on doing business with China, or those of you who've done business with China have heard the term Guanxi discussed. Okay? As Desmond back there will tell you, my Chinese is just bad enough to get me in trouble. But I will tell you that Guanxi is important, except you don't have any, and I don't have any. And unless you grew up in China, you're not going to have any, so don't worry about it. Instead, focus on being a good customer, and then you will build your own form of Guanxi with that particular supplier over time, but you're not going to be able to walk in off the street and have this in your pocket, so just sort of forget about it. The biggest thing to being a good customer is pay your bills on time. And I know that sounds elementary and kind of silly for me to say out loud, but you'd be amazed at how often it needs to be said. Okay? Every buyer or every factory in China has heard the million-piece order promise a million times. They've always heard that the next order is going to be bigger. They've heard it over and over and over again, and they've been ripped off plenty of times, which is one of the reasons why they are hard to deal with. Okay? Just like you'll hear stories of buyers getting screwed over by a Chinese factory. The Chinese factory can tell you a million stories about them getting screwed over by the buyer. So there's a reason why everybody wants to get paid up front. There's a reason why there's a lot of mutual distrust, and reason why a lot of times things go wrong. So what I advise people is, if you want to start building this Guanxi, first thing to do is try and be a good customer. Just like we talked about before, don't blizzard them with information. Be organized and concise. Show up when you say you're going to and leave when you said you were going to. Bring good purchase orders and pay your bills on time. Now, in the meantime, when you're trying to get started, sure, there are agents like PassageMaker, like others, that can help you get a better deal with a client that might have Guanxi, or excuse me, get a better deal with a supplier that might have Guanxi with that factory, that might have a track record with them. Okay? And that's a good reason to hire an agent. It's also a good reason to hire an agent because you got a person on the ground and you get to stay in South Africa instead of flying back and forth to China all the time. Negotiating fair prices is something that I think that a lot of people think that everybody in Asia haggles all the time, and in a sense they do, but when you're placing your first purchase order with a factory, that's not the time to haggle. Okay? You don't have any pull in that relationship. They don't need you. This isn't Japan. The customer is not sacred. Chinese factories have got people beating the path to the door every day, and they can decide not to do business with you. So if you find a factory that you like, whether it's at this show or through global sources online or however you find them, understand that your first purchase order isn't going to mean squat to these people. The third, fourth, fifth purchase order, now you're going to start to register in the boss's mind as somebody that is interesting and that they want to do more business with. But don't start pounding people on price on day one because you don't have any pull in that relationship. I did a lot of business supplying parts to Harley-Davidson. I didn't start debating price with a guy until we were a year into it. Okay, and I had established myself as a healthy part of his business. We liked each other. I went and visited him regularly. We had a good time together, but not a scandalous time together, but a good time together. And I was bringing good business, and I was paying my bills on time. And then I came back and said, look, we really got to work on these terms and conditions. We really got to work on the price. And we sat down, and I gave a little, and he gave a little, and we had a negotiation. But you can't do that on the first day. He doesn't know you and doesn't really care. Submitting a good purchase order. What does that mean? Well, number one, they certainly want to see you ordering at least whatever their minimum order quantity is, because Chinese factories are set up for volume. And so if the minimum order quantity on the quote is 10,000 pieces and you want 1,000 pieces every time, you're going to be a pain in the neck, because it's going to take them more time to set up the machine to run your part than they're going to be able to make on that order. It's constantly going to be a point of contention. Now, if you're a well-established customer and you're ordering hundreds of thousands of parts of this one and you want to short order that one, okay, we'll do that. That's not a problem. But come in starting the relationship if you can, at least buying the minimum quantities, paying the price that the guy asked for, pay your bills on time, and write a formal purchase order. Don't send the stuff in the email. I can get into how you get around to doing the good purchase orders later in the Q&A. We do have, PassageMaker has some templates. Some of them are available on the China Sourcing Information Center website. The long and the short of it is that you want to make sure that you're not just throwing together something that doesn't have any detail in it that they have to come back and ask questions about. Again, be concise, provide the information he needs. Once you've got things going, okay, and we'll get more into the idea of visiting the factory on occasion, yes, do spend the time to get to know the guy and take him out to dinner, and take him out to dinner. He's always going to want to buy you dinner, occasionally buy him dinner, okay? But don't be hanging around the factory and barraging them with 100 emails a day asking questions. Place the order, provide the information, check up on it, but don't badger the guy while he's doing the work, okay?